This right here is going to be the biggest, the most ambitious, and the most meaningful vehicle project build I have ever done. And I haven't been this excited about a new vehicle in a long time. But before I show you this vehicle and share with you the plan, I think we need to establish a little bit of context first. Now, over the years, I've shared with you guys that before I was doing YouTube, I was in the Navy. I was a hospital corpsman, and so I did Navy medicine for 26 years. I deployed all over the world. I was on several ships. I deployed with the Marines in combat zones and did some amazing humanitarian work, and I loved my career. But ever since retiring, I've always wanted to find a way to take my Navy medical experience and somehow merge it with what we do out here on the trails on adventures. And after a lot of thinking and a lot of planning, today is the start of something I am very excited to share with you guys. So, while I am setting up this tent, which may or may not be part of this, I actually don't know, let me give you a little bit of a background on what a hospital corpsman is, and more importantly, which will come to play here in just a few minutes, what a battalion aid station is. This tent is a portable gazebo, and this is my first time setting it up. I'm considering using this as a component of this vehicle project, but we'll see if this is a good fit here in a few minutes to see if this is what I'm looking for. Now, not only did I serve as a hospital corpsman, but so did my wife, Regina, as well as our son, Jordan. So the hospital corps rating really has a special place in our hearts. Hospital corpsmen are the enlisted medical specialists who are assigned to naval hospitals and to clinics, aboard ships, with the air wing detachments, and just about anywhere the Navy is, you'll find a hospital corpsman. Hospital corpsmen can also be assigned to the Marines. The Marines do not have their own medical support since they are part of the Department of the Navy, and it is the Navy's job to provide it. Wherever you find the Marines, you'll find a hospital corpsman at their side. The hospital corpsman rating is the largest rating in the Navy, and it's also the most decorated. There have been 22 Corpsman Medal of Honor recipients and countless Navy Crosses, Silver Stars, and Bronze Stars awarded for acts of heroism. Hospital corpsmen are the backbone of Navy medicine, and the most elite of the corpsman rating are the independent duty corpsmen. I served as an IDC for the last 16 years in the Navy. IDCs are the senior medical providers on cruisers, destroyers, and other small Navy ships, as well as being providers for the Marines at forward deployed battalion aid stations, also known as BASs. A battalion aid station is a medical treatment facility set up within a Marine battalion's area of operations. Its primary role is to provide initial medical care and stabilization to injured personnel before they are evacuated to a higher level of care, such as a field hospital or a combat support hospital. The BAS is the inspiration for this build project. So I am proud that I got to serve as a hospital corpsman in the Navy because there's just so much heritage there. And now being able to start this project and honor all the hospital corpsmen that have gone before me and the ones that are out there doing amazing work now is something I am extremely excited about. And we're going to be doing stuff to just support all our military service folks. And I thought that part of the project was going to include this tent, kind of like a battalion aid station, but we're going to call it something different. We're going to call it a trail aid station, a TAS. But I don't think this tent, while it was easy to set up, is going to be big enough. Let me head over to the vehicle. Let's talk about the self-inflicted requirements that I've put on myself for the TAS, and then I will give you a walk around of the vehicle and tell you what the big plan is. Let me introduce you to my 2023 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon, which is the foundation for the new trail aid station. You guys know I've been wanting a Gladiator for a long time again, and this is a good excuse to do it because this is going to be the perfect platform, and I'm excited to get out and use it in this stock form for a little bit and start building it up. But as I've been thinking about this project over a long period of time, there's some things that I needed this project to be able to do, and so I'm going to read off these 14 items here that are very important to me as this begins to evolve. I mean, I have some pretty good ideas about what we're going to do, but things may change a little bit as we move forward. So, Number one, first of all, this has to be able to respond to remote locations and provide medical support for ill or injured. We know the Jeep Gladiator is capable, so getting back here in the backcountry should not be a problem. But I want it to not be for show. I want it to legitimately be able to treat injuries and illnesses out in remote locations for emergency response. So everything we're going to do to this is going to be practical and functional. The most advanced medical technology and equipment and supplies that I can put in this thing, I'm absolutely going to do. 2, it needs to be self-sustained for 72 hours. So a trail aid station is going to be something that's set up, behind the front lines of whatever the casualty event is, and it needs to be able to support patients and do some good work and all the equipment for 72 hours. So that means we need to have some robust power, we need to have some good water, and we need to have plenty of supplies and food and everything we need to manage everything for 72 hours. The ability to cross deep water crossings. Yes, that's right. I want to be able to take this thing across a river if I need to, and that means having some kind of advanced stuff that I don't think I've ever seen anybody do to a Gladiator before. But more on that much, much later. It needs to have powerful communications. So I think a strong as radios as we can get in there for GMRS, ham radio, even maybe like a mobile radio system as an auxiliary system. I'm really doing a little bit of homework in that, but this needs to have some good comms so you can talk to the front lines and you can talk back to the hospital if you need to. Ooh, this one's tough. This needs to have 400 miles of range, which means we can go in 200 miles and come out 200 miles. Right now, the Gladiator in stock form is about 320 miles of range, but then once you start putting all the gear on there, bigger tires, all the things, that's going to be reduced. So we're going to have to figure out a way to make this travel a little bit further, which means some kind of auxiliary fuel tank. Lighting. Lighting is going to be crucial for the trail aid station because when you have a casualty that's received, you don't want to be working in the dark. So I want to have a lot of light. Light up above, light on the ground, and again, all the power to support that. Storage. So I went with the Gladiator because we have a big truck bed to work with. So that's going to allow us the opportunity to do a lot of storage in the back and up top if we need to. And so finding a way to make that functional is going to be important, but it also needs to be modular. I need to be able to pull all that stuff out, set up quickly, and when it comes time to leave, to be able to break down quickly and put it all away. So it's got to be modular. And then, which is coming up here soon, another one of these criteria is this is my adventure vehicle. So those medical supplies need to be able to come out and my camping supplies need to be able to go in. Next is this needs to have the ability to transport a patient. Now really I'm talking about transporting a patient from the front lines to the area where we're going to be doing treatment. I don't want to have to go worry about driving on the freeway because the bed on this is only 5 feet long. So how are we going to make that work? We're going to have to figure something out. I mean, if you look at some of the old ways that the Jeeps carried patients on the trails, they had them laying across the hood, they had them on racks on the side. So we will figure something out creative where we can at least carry one injured person on a stretcher. That's going to be important. Onboard water, we need to have lots and lots of water. When you are doing medical care, you need to have access to hot and cold water, and so we need to make sure that we have plenty. All right, I mentioned that it needs to be modular for camping. This is going to not only be this trail aid station project, but this is going to be my adventure vehicle. So I need this to be practical for me. So it can't just be this behemoth of a trail aid station. It also needs to be like, all right, I'm going to go hit the trail for a week just to go have some fun and tow the trailer. And so this needs to be able to kind of do it all. And that's a big requirement I'm putting on this project. Another one is it's got to fit in my garage. And so right now, the length of it is just about maximum for fitting in my garage, but more importantly, going forward, as we begin to put bigger tires and a lift and maybe racks and stuff on top, it still has to be able to fit in my garage because I need to be able to do work on it. That's going to be a requirement as we continue to build this thing up. It needs to stay under the gross vehicle weight. So the rating on this, I think, is almost 1,200 pounds. Everything that we do to this vehicle has to stay under that gross vehicle weight. That is very important to me. Even though we're going to make the suspension a little more robust, I want to keep this within the specs. You know, if the military is speccing out a vehicle from a contractor, they give them some of these kind of guidelines, and that's kind of where I kind of got this from, and the vehicle gross weight is one of those specs that I think is very important. The last thing, and this one's really important, it's got to be cool. This thing has to be cool because I'm a car guy and I'm an off-road nut and I want this thing to look good going down the trail. And so not only is this going to be extremely functional, but I want it to look really, really cool. Okay, let's start our way from the front, work our way back. Let me talk about some of the things that I kind of have in mind. Again, some of these may change, but let me tell you what's on my mind right now. So apparently while I was sitting on the tailgate talking with you guys, the tent that I had just set up started blowing down the trail because I didn't stake it down and there's a little bit of a breeze out here. All good, I will get that here in a moment. Okay, let's talk about the Gladiator. It is white, but the plan is not to stay white, although changing the color will be probably one of the last things that I do, and that will come months and months down the road. Everything else needs to get done to this thing first, but I'm still kind of undecided whether or not this should be desert tan or military green. I'd love to hear what you guys think, but I will be doing a bunch of little Easter eggs within, whether it's a paint or a wrap, to kind of honor the military and the hospital corps community. So I'm really excited about some of the stuff that we're going to put on here. Okay, with the front is going to be pretty basic. I'm going to go with a full width bumper. We're going to put a winch on here for recovery. We will definitely have some off-road lights on here, and otherwise it will be mostly stock, except for upgrading some of the steering components and adding a couple little skid plates underneath. As far as the engine, this has the 3.6 liter Pentastar, and you guys know me, I'm gonna leave it stock. I don't wanna mess with it. I need it to be reliable out here, and doing things like superchargers and turbos just reduces that reliability significantly. One of the things we're going to do, and I mentioned it being able to cross rivers, is there will be a snorkel, which that's not that innovative. What we're going to do with the exhaust to be able to cross rivers, that is going to be cool. And I'm already talking to the folks at MagnaFlow, and we're already coming up with some ideas on what we're going to do with this exhaust that's going to be very, very unique. All right, let's talk tires and suspension. Now, the plan for tires and suspension is not to make this thing some crazy rock crawler. We're not doing 6 inches of lift on 40s because at the end of the day, that's not going to help us with our fuel economy when we need to meet that 400 miles of range. 2, it's probably not going to fit in the garage anymore. And 3, it's just not going to be fun to drive. I mean, let's be honest. So I'm going to keep this pretty mild. We're going to go with some bigger tires. We're going to go with some really cool durable wheels that don't stick way out. We're going to put a nice suspension on here that's going to manage the weight that we're going to put on here, make it super comfortable, give us a little bit of clearance. That's all going to be very important. As far as fenders go, the fender width is important. Right now, I think I'm going to keep the stock fenders. The important thing is when we go bigger tires that those don't stick way out, because I can't get to the response area and just have this thing covered in mud. So I need the fenders to actually do fender things, and that is to keep all the debris off of the side of the vehicles. So a good standard to wide width fender is going to be important. Now, as far as axles go, I don't know if I'm going to actually go bigger and heavier axles, but we will do some things to make these a little stronger. That will be an important element. All right, let's hop over to the side and talk about some of the things we're planning on doing over here. Now, on the Rubicon model, we get a nice solid rock rail down below, which I don't think we're going to need to change out. Again, this is not going to be a rock crawler, and that's going to give us plenty of good protection. Now, up top, I have the paint matched hardtop, which I really love the fact that this has paint matched top and the fenders. It just gives it a really unique look. But we are going to be drilling into this thing and putting a rack up here, which is going to make this not removable anymore, most likely. We might be able to get the freedom panels on and off, but I need to put a rack up here for not only storage, but for that lighting that I talked about. We need to put some good bright lights up high so we can see everything while we're working and doing patient care down here. So that's going to not be removable in the future, but that's all right. It looks good. Over here, I have kind of debated back and forth about what I wanted to do to kind of cover the truck bed. I mentioned that we're going to have some really robust and technical medical equipment back here. So doing a canvas top, while that would have looked cool and been kind of military retro, it's just not practical. I need to do something that's secured, lockable, and is going to keep the elements out of all the gear that we're going to have inside here. So I'm going to do some kind of hard shell, which I think is going to be perfect. And then on top of that, there will probably be an extension of that rack, more lighting, but more importantly, a big, massive awning with some walls. Picture this. This is kind of where you're going to do some of that patient care. We might have a supplementary tent like that Gazelle that I set up earlier. Apparently they have a larger one than that I may have to check out. But I want to make the vehicle be able to do everything on its own. And so having just a big, massive awning with walls that can kind of keep the wind and the rain out of the patient care area will be important. And we could actually do it on both sides. Can you imagine how much shade and wall coverage we could actually get? And then having a hard shell cap on this thing that has doors that open up and you can access that medical equipment, run your wires through, whatever you need. That's kind of where my vision is. I don't know, can you guys see that? All right, now for the truck bed. And this is where a lot of important planning is going to have to come into consideration. So I need to be able to, one, have a lot of storage back here for the medical equipment. Thankfully, we will have a cap on here, so we will be able to go up high with maybe some long storage boxes where we can keep the medical equipment. I need to have some type of permanent shelving in here that will not only store supplies, but it will allow somebody to sit on while they are monitoring the patient that will be on a stretcher, hopefully secured somehow on this side. So if we need to go pick somebody up, we can do that. Also, that storage box that's going to be a bench needs to house the power, and that is going to be one big part of this project. This vehicle needs to be able to manage itself self-sustained for 72 hours. That means all the vital signs machines, IV pumps, telemetry, laptops, lighting, everything has to come, that power has to come from the Gladiator, which means I need at least 400 to 600 amp hours of lithium batteries in here. And so figuring out what that's going to look like is going to take some planning. Something with like a red arc management system is going to be helpful, but where am I going to put all of those batteries? I'm excited to try to figure it out. And I mentioned that we have to carry a patient in here. This is only a 5-foot bed. So that means that we're going to have to figure something out where a stretcher comes in and attaches and is secured somehow, so it kind of latches in, but we're going to have to be able to travel with the tailgate down and the back of the cap up safely. And also somebody's got to be able to kind of sit in here and monitor the patient. So space is already getting pretty cramped in here, but that's my vision. And also there's got to be water in here and a lot of supplies. Thankfully, we can put some of the supplies up high, and those can come on and off really easily. But I really would like to keep as much as possible inside the truck bed. Now, as far as the back, the bumper, I don't know if I'm going to do an aftermarket bumper, but what is very important is that this truck is my primary adventure vehicle, can tow our Patriot Campers X3 trailer. So I have the full tow package here, but I'm going to have to wire it up so I can power the trailer, power the batteries in the trailer as we go. And that's another element to this that I haven't really talked about. The trailer, the X3, while it's Regina and I's favorite thing to have out here on the trail, it's also going to be an element of the trail aid station because you're kind of carrying your quarters for your Corman, right? That's the place that the Corman is housed while you're on station for 72 hours. So the trailer is going to be an element of this entire project, which we'll figure out how to integrate that a little bit more as we go forward. But right now my focus is on just the Gladiator. All right, we have a lot to talk about on the interior. Well, I think it's pretty fitting that a military helicopter just flew right over the top of me. That's medevac right there. They're coming to get the patient and taking them away. Well, okay, not, but kind of cool. That was pretty cool to see them. Okay, let's talk about the interior. I'm excited about the interior because we're gonna do some fun stuff in here, starting with the seats. These have the black leather seats, but that's not gonna stay. We're gonna do something very custom. And I definitely wanna do some cool stuff here on the dash, a little bit of a tribute to my brothers and sisters in the military. And so we'll do some custom stuff inside of here. Now, I mentioned comms. And so I have some ideas for communications. I definitely want to have a GMRS radio, a really powerful GMRS radio, a very powerful ham radio, but not just in here, but also out there. And so maybe something that's a little bigger, has a bigger antenna, is a little more robust, can send a little bit more power and receive a little bit better. So we'll figure that out. I don't know what that all looks like. It's just kind of an idea in my head. What else in here? We will still do kind of the standard phone mount and navigation and all the other kind of cool accoutrements that I do in here. But inside it's got to be comfortable, it's got to be practical, but more importantly, it's got to be cool. All right, two other very important elements to the TAS. One, I want to make sure that we are bringing awareness to the importance of first aid out here on the trail. So often I come across folks that they don't have a first aid kit in their vehicle, or if they do, they don't know what's in it or how to use it. And so I want to find a way to raise awareness to how important it is to have first aid, not only supplies, but training when you're out here in remote off-the-grid locations. The other thing, and this is something that's both important to Regina and myself, and that is finding a way to support Operation Homefront, which is a nonprofit organization that supports military families, and it is so near and dear to our hearts. You know, when I was deployed and Regina was at home with the kids, you know, we were having a hard time sometimes making ends meet. And we want to find a way with this project to give back a little bit. And Operation Homefront is a charity that we've been supporting for a couple of years now, and they just do amazing work. And so through this build process, one, we're going to raise awareness for Operation Homefront, but two, find a way to creatively raise some money. I have a couple ideas, but I will share more with that as we go along. But that is a great organization, and if you're not familiar with them, I will leave a link down below. Go check it out. The other thing is, the TrailRecon community patrons have been so helpful up to this point. I've shared a little bit of what we were getting ready to do, and they gave me some amazing feedback. I'm so thankful for our Patreon folks that support us, and if you would like to support this project, that's a great way to do it. Head over to Patreon, because as we begin to build this, it's going to take a little bit of resources, and that means that I need to liquidate some things in the driveway. One, to make room, but two, I need to raise some money to help with this build project. And so I'm going to be saying goodbye to maybe more than one thing in the garage, but that's okay. This is going to make it all worth it. Guys, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I am super excited about this, more excited than I've been in a long time about a project, and I hope that you guys are excited. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on it, about this project, and if you have any ideas for me, I'm all ears. And if you have not been over to TrailRecon.com, make sure you check us out. We have all kinds of gear over there to outfit your next adventure. More to come on the Trail Aid Station, guys. Thanks for watching.